Welcome back to Ronnie's Reclusive Reviews. This week I got some more music for you. Up first is Atrocity Exhibition by Danny Brown. I hadn't listened to much Danny Brown before now, aside from his incredible collab with JPEG Mafia, Scarin' the Hose, which is one of my favorite albums and certainly one of my favorites from 2023, due in no small part to Danny's half of the duo.
I can handle it. Eat your ass like I'm cannabis.
I'm thankful to say Atrocity Exhibition absolutely lived up to the hype for me. It really is an atrocity that it took me this long to listen to it. The production side of the album was incredible, some of the most unique, off-kilter and abstract hip-hop production on any album I've heard, mainly defined by the strange percussion, jangly high notes, guttural bass, and odd sampling. The beats across this album blew me away. I love the more traditional hip-hop cuts like Really Dough just as much as the cerebral, atmospheric pieces like Downward Spiral. Most of the production was handled by Paul White, but there were some key featured producers, most notably The Alchemist graced us with a beautifully strange circus beat on White Lines that Danny Brown performs in Chameleons 2 perfectly. Whether it's Paul White, Alk, or hard-hitting jingly beats from Evian Christian, each song is stained with a frantic and dark tone that really define the album, which I'll get into more later.
I keep it dirty as a split my Uncle Alchemist puff.
It's not supposed to be mixed like a fucking Malcolm album.
I love the genius production just as much as I love Danny Brown's brilliant performance and writing. I was immediately hooked by the oddball masterpiece that is Downward Spiral. A perfect opening with Danny really grilling in these intense themes of drug addiction, mental health issues, and party life obsession. I was also incredibly intrigued by Danny's really putting his mask off and using more natural deep tone on songs like Tell Me What I Don't Know and From the Ground. Really cements his vulnerability that he's displaying on this album. Like I alluded to earlier, Danny's ability to make wonders out of the least conventional beats is on full showcase. Like I said, he flows incredible to the Alchemist beat. He also really commits to a flow that goes perfectly with the grand cinematic production on Dance in the Water. And I love the dark hallways that he draws the listener down with his strange flows and scary themes on Today. Danny really does something special on this album, and he wraps the album up perfectly with the hard-hitting descriptive verses on Hell for It.
How do you decide to go low Danny or high Danny?
Based on what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Like if I'm, and you know, the high pitch, that's just, it's kind of funny. So if I'm saying like funny punchlines or like some just out there off the wall ass shit, then yeah, I mean, me saying it in that voice will make it way more funnier than me saying it in that low pitch.
I also love all the features. Every single person brought onto this project matches the energy of Danny's strange world he built. Petite Noir kills it with the smoky melodies on the chorus of Rolling Stones. Kalila kills her beautiful vocals to offset the sad, deeper tone that Danny has on From the Ground. All the fellas on Really Dough really brought it. Kendrick, of course, leads the track in a big way. He not only brings the hook of the song in between each verse, but he has a bridge and entire verse with some incredible flows and bars. Ab-Soul's really brought some incredible wordplay and intensity for the second verse, but who really stole my heart was Earl Sweatshirt on the closing verse. He brings one of his most expressive and intense cadences, and of course it wasn't a shock that his rhyme schemes and lyricism were also masterful. But really my favorite feature was probably Be Real on Get High, acting as a sort of weed siren on the cannabis-themed track. His wacky and childish cadence make for a very compelling chorus.
You had the bad day and want the stress to go away. Just roll up and take the pain away and get high.
On top of the fact that this album is simply great to listen to, the album is thematically well developed. The entire album is exploring Danny spinning out of control with his addiction and party lifestyle. I'm now gonna go more in depth track by track, trying to focus on the themes of each song. The opening lays down this perfectly with the lyrics describing vividly an atmosphere of paranoia and stained walls on Downward Spiral. This transitions into Tell Me What I Don't Know, which is kind of a backstory song, with Danny, like I said, using a more natural sound, over a story of his troubled past, including how his friend was shot, with lines like, "It's like a cycle, you get in, I go out, this is not the life for us."
Tell me what I don't know. Last night, homie got killed at the liquor store. Shot my on the way to get a swisher. Breaking down the weed when the call got received.
Rolling Stone is kind of about how aimless and empty Danny feels in his present day, to contrast the flashback in the last song, with lines like, On a roll that never ends, don't know where I should begin. Feeling trapped, no looking back, headfirst in the deep end. The chorus starts with, I've been living like a rolling stone, which may be a double meaning of feeling aimless, the main theme of the song, and living like a rolling stone, like the band, meaning living the party life.
You know I'm living like a rolling stone, but don't feel for me.
Really Dough is a bit of a break from the mental rabbit hole of the album, being one of the most conventional and party-accessible songs on the album with incredible verses from all the features like I mentioned earlier. But I really like to cement how incredible Earl's rhyme scheme is, with him using the same 4-syllable rhyme throughout the whole verse while interchanging it with complex internal rhymes. Really great stuff.
They say I got the city on fire. I ain't booming, that's a goddamn lie. Whoa. Really though, like really though. Really though, like really though.
Lost is one of the oddest sounding songs of the album, with this off-kilter, sort of wrong-sounding sample chop over some very descriptive verses centered around cocaine, his party life, and sex. The chorus being specifically focused on the hectic process of producing cocaine, while trying to stay on task and not get high off the vapor.
Lost on the sauce, but I ain't flipping. Cutting up the hall like the yard ain't pissed.
Ain't It Funny is a blaring loud track, with Danny continuing to detail his drug abuse, specifically how he knows how destructive it is, while still continuing to be sucked into the cycle, exacerbated by the intense pulse of the beat.
Jokes on you, but ain't no one laughing. Ain't it funny how it happens? Ain't it?
Gold Dust and White Lines are both specifically songs about what seems to be his drug of choice throughout the whole album, cocaine. Gold Dust is the first moment where Danny is most explicitly trying to fight back his destructive cycle, with this section on the second verse of him saying, been cursed all along, whole family addicts, floating through my bloodstream like I gotta have it. Tried to quit a few times but it didn't work out. Can you understand what my life is about? Cause I think you don't, so take a step inside a mind so horrific. This is on top of a very cinematic and hectic western sounding sample clip. White Lines isn't as progressive to the themes, but it makes up for it with how Danny floats through the strange circus of the production.
Busting up a flake looking like gold dust. I get a whip of this uncut. Lines of coke. Heartbeat echo, but ain't my time to go.
Pneumonia is a very party-centric song with lines about how luxurious his life seems to be and how lucky he is to have made it out the streets and into a life of riches, contrasted with the fact that he's still spiraling out of control.
Now what got 4 bank cards? Looking like a nigga that I'm thank God.
Dance in the Water is one of the most seemingly conventional songs in the album, but I feel it's one of the most important. The verses seem to be long, continuous descriptions of Danny lusting for this specific woman and giving her instructions to twerk, interspersed with the hook of Danny repeating, dance in the water and not get wet, not get wet, not get wet. This is sort of a central theme of the album, which is the real danger of this lifestyle. The line is essentially a flipped version of the saying of trying to play with fire without getting burnt. This simple but effective choruses makes the verses stand out to me to be metaphorical for a sort of temptress Medusa figure that represents his spiraling addiction. The last line on the third verse being, he a monster, he a creature, he's gonna tie you up and eat you, which surface level is about getting a little freaky with this woman, but to me sounds directly like a double entendre for his destructive relationship with drugs.
Dance in the water and I get wet, not get wet, not get wet. Dance in the water and I get wet, not get wet, not get wet.
From the Ground is the second song with Danny using his deeper, more natural and mellow-sounding vocal style, with his verses being one where he reflects on the past, just like Tell Me What I Don't Know, while also being about how his hustling and focus on his music career was always present, even while in his past on the streets, and how that gave him the foundation to build his career. A very bittersweet, reflective song that ultimately leans more on a positive feeling of finally making it, contrasted with most of the rest of the track list.
I deserve the finer things. Told myself back then when I used to ride a Schwinn. Now I'm on a tour bus going places I ain't never been.
When It Rain is mainly about the danger of gang life, with the hook being when it rain, when it pour, get your ass on the floor, referencing a saying about when something goes wrong it will get even worse, while also being a double entendre for raining bullets and needing to duck down. The verses go further with these weather metaphors, with him saying, here we go now, here we go, ain't no water, how a flower gonna grow, ain't no change, then how we gonna change, no umbrella, we stuck in the rain. Dark clouds hanging all over our heads, no sunshine, and then showers be led. It's maybe one of the best verses on the album. This is over one of the most distinct and defining beats with this strange jangly sound that lives throughout the album.
Oh, you ain't know that. When it rain, when it pour, get your ass on the floor now. Oh, you ain't know that. Bad luck when you hear them gunshots go off.
Today is really a song about paranoia, another big theme of the album, with the chorus being, today, today, today. I say you never know when your time to go, so damn right I did it. Combined with the verses about keeping the tool on you, it paints a picture of this feeling of always needing to be vigilant and protective with your gun at the ready, and any day being the day you get shot. Danny also goes back to his weather wordplay, talking about lightning bolts ripping through torsos and raining blood after thunders, both being metaphors for bullets flying.
I say you never know when your time to go. I say you never know when your time to go, so damn right I tell you.
Get High is one of the most playful songs in the album, it being about Danny's love of weed. Danny's verses have some of the most intricate rhyme streams and creative bars on the first verse, before we hear the chorus being Be Real, with this very childish and immature sound talking about getting high. And transitioning into the second verse, it becomes more apparent that Danny is being mostly sarcastic with the song, and the subtext being that weed can really slow you down, and become a destructive distraction, while not helping you actually solve the real problems you could be ignoring by spending all day smoking weed.
Cold train on soul plane, propane, flow game. Bitches know my name from Cancun to Spokane.
Finally, the last song, Hell For It, is Danny wrapping up the album after the smooth going Get High, getting back to focus and talking about his music career and how hard he's fought for it, and how hard he plans to continue fighting for it. There's some more intriguing detailings of his past that are sprinkled throughout the whole album, this song tying back to From the Ground, with lines about hustling and making it in the industry. This song serves as a mostly positive end to the album, with Danny sounding the most focused he's ever sounded. Danny throughout the album has gone between his classic screeching, yelping sound that he's known for and that I love, and his depressive, deeper flow. And on the last track, he strikes a balance of not sounding so intensely off the rails as other songs, but still sounding energetic. While this is a bit of an optimistic ending, he still has bars talking about the danger he still faces, and he does take the time to wrap up the theme of drug abuse in the last verse.
I'ma give them hell for until it's heaven on earth, my nigga. I'ma give them hell for whatever it's worth, my nigga. I'ma give them hell for it.
So that's Atrocity Exhibition. Whether it's a chaotic screeching banger or a slower introspective song, Danny manages to keep me hooked. Like how he manages to stay hooked on cocaine in the verses of this album, am I right? Anyways, moving on from the puns, the album is really important in hip-hop history, and I can imagine how many people have really taken the themes of this album to heart. And it makes me a little sad how much chaos this album caused financially with Danny, because even though this album has become so iconic, it didn't sell as well as Danny hoped initially.
Would you rather delete Triple X or Atrocity Exhibition? You can only say one. It's an easy one. I would delete Atrocity Exhibition in a heartbeat. I spent 70,000 in samples and the motherfucker sold 7,000 the first week. I think someone lost a deal. But that's my first time, man. That was like, man, the record label, they gave me a budget. That's my first time ever working with an album with a budget. You know, they gave me $100,000 and I'm like, I'm going to go crazy. I ain't about to go cheap out. And then I still, because I went over the budget, I spent $50,000 on mixing and mastering. You get what I'm saying? So I'm definitely still in the red with that album. And you motherfuckers wonder why y'all get music from me all the time. I can't put out, I gotta get out of debt. You get what I'm saying?
I just hope that Danny knows how impactful and brilliant this album was to so many people, and I wouldn't want to live in any world without it. My favorite tracks from Atrocity Exhibition were Really Dough, White Lines, and Downward Spiral, and I would give this album a 9.5 out of 10.
You niggas don't even know all that talk, they know show. Cannot tell me nothing, show me something I ain't seen before. The hoe on my take that lot, smoking on that mistletoe. Make her kiss all on it while we touch up on her 20.
Speaking of wanting to escape the cycle of drug abuse, I went to an escape room. I went to the Real Escape Canada with 6 friends, and it was my first ever escape room, and it was called The Mines.
As a child, I yearned for the mines.
It was horror themed, and as a huge horror fan, I had a lot of fun. I've realized I'm not very good at puzzle solving in situations like this. I helped a few puzzles, but I feel I mostly contributed by staying pretty focused and helping out with the more horror themed sections, like having to follow a rope in the dark to find a keyhole. We didn't end up actually escaping, unfortunately. We didn't manage to be like 30% who succeed in the mines, but I had fun with the experience, and the atmosphere is pretty incredible. so I give this escape room an 8 out of 10. That's all I have for you today. Check out Review Ronny on Instagram for more on the show. And before I let you listeners go, it's time for Ronny's Joke of the Week. What would you call Danny Brown if he got even browner? Tanny Brown. That's it for today's episode of Ronny's Ringing Reviews. See you next time.
Hey, Ronny. Ronny?
Good reviews?
Fabulous reviews.
This is Ronny. Make it good.
Suppose Ronny could have been a
Reviewer.
It's Ronny, all right.
Ronny?
Reviews.
Fabulous reviews.
And this is the best review we got.